This is the fourth and final video in the Finance Lease Lessor accounting that is replacing your lecture today that has been unfortunately suspended due to whatever actions are happening on the campus, and I hope you're going to be able to benefit from them and keep up to date with your learning so close to the exams. The videos up to this point have basically been considering. In video 1 we looked at the matter collector scenario. You have that question with you. It also has it on the first video. And then we went through the initial recognition and we discussed that journal and how the South African way of doing that journal is different. And it's reflected here again on your screen. The international accounting on the right-hand side and the South African accounting, which will be required for your assessments, unfortunately, whether we agree with it or not, is on the left-hand side. Now, this video, all we're going to do is now look at the subsequent recognition and measurement to do with this finance lease. So in the scenario, there's these 5 payments of 50,000 Rand that are happening. Now, again, what I'd like to do is, you seem to be quite comfortable but on the lessee side of things. So this is just the inverse of that. There's a 50,000 Rand payment that's being made at the end of the first lease period. So bank, we are now being the lessor receiving the 50,000 from the lessee. So bank on the debit side, 50,000 Rand. Inverse of the lessee's accounting. And that obviously includes a capital principal amount and an interest amount. So using your amortization function on your calculator or going to the amortization tables, whichever you prefer, you can solve then for what would be your interest portion and what would be the capital portion. So 50,000 against bank is then comprising of 30,451 Rand's finance income, and the capital being the difference, 19,549. So that is an inverse of the lessee accounting we do in South Africa, and it's the way the rest of the world is going with it. And considering the fact that we want to disclose this finance lease data, or present it at least in the SFP, it's quite easy to work from here. You've got your 202,000 less the capital amount that's just been repaid, the 19,549, and you have the balance you need to put through to your SFP. Remember the short-term and long-term portions that we discussed in class, though, that your payment for the next period needs to be a current portion. Right, now let's switch this across to South Africa. Given our starting is slightly different to where the international guys start, our journals in the subsequent periods also need to be slightly revised, but the effects are the same. We proved that in the lecture yesterday, that you could see that doing the T accounts with this will give you exactly the same answer as doing it the way the guys overseas do, and we end up, ironically in South Africa, giving the same amount in the statement of financial position. So we've received 50,000 Rand bank, agrees to the international interpretation. But because we have created that gross investment in the finance lease at initial recognition, which represents all the payments outstanding, we can now say that one of those payments has been received. So we take our 50,000 and reduce that total payment, if you like, account. Then we have to acknowledge, right, well, that 50,000 we just reduced it by included a finance income portion. So it's no longer unearned, but it is now in fact earned and needs to be transferred through to your statement of profit and loss, the old income statement. So the second journal entry we do in South Africa is we realize now 30,451 Rand, moving it out of this balance we started with, 118. So on the debit side, moving it out and moving it through to profit and loss, finance income, 30,451. So in both instances, you will report in your statement of financial position the finance lease data at the same amount, and you have in your statement of profit and loss the finance income at the same amount. We in South Africa have to use these two journals, while the international guys generally have the consolidated inverse journal of the lessee accounting. I hope these videos have helped keep you up to date with the lectures, and I will hopefully see you in class tomorrow.